All right, everybody, it's Monday Mentor. I am Noah Elias, and I am so excited to be here with you guys. And I'm going to be working from my notes this week because I just got so many, and I can't wait to share them with you. I hope you had an amazing weekend, and you got a big week ahead of you, as well as I do. Got a lot to tackle, a lot of new things happening, new projects happening, new launches, dreaming it, building it, launching it. So I just wanted to dive in really quick and give you some encouragement and some things that I really concentrate on to help get things more dialed in my living and my strategies in getting life impactful. So today's topic is called, what is the power of worst case scenario? And what does that actually look like? Well, this is a technique I've done a ton of reading over the years of people that are really dynamic leaders, including Tim Ferriss. These are life hackers that really go off of it or really go after it and really dive into not leaving any meat on the bone when it comes to attacking life and time. So I try to live life as strategic as possible, getting the most out of my time to where I'm not resenting any area of my life. An example of that would be I do not want to be spending time with my family and resenting my time with my family because they're keeping me from something I know I need to get done with my work. Or another case would be I'm at work, but I'm resenting my work and resenting my craft because I'm not with my family. I find that a lot of individuals get really frustrated when I'm mentoring them is because they feel like they're spread too thin. They feel like their life is on life support and they have no margin to be able to truly enjoy where they are at no matter what they're doing. If they're playing around a golf or if they're working out or if they're having some alone time or they're on vacation, they might be physically present there, but they are not mentally there because they are just being haunted by all the other things that are going on in life. That takes me back to a great memory of one of our vacations. And a lot of I couldn't even take a vacation because I couldn't even enjoy them. It took me 3 days just to ramp down. And once I finally got settled, it seems like we were packing our bags and we were already on the go back home. So I understand what it feels like to be spread thin and to be resenting where you're currently at because you're not able to get other things done. And life just feels out of sync. It feels out of balance. And it doesn't feel like it's being very productive. I totally understand that. I appreciate that, and I know how you feel. So the reason why I came up with this technique and the power of worst case scenario, this is a great exercise of how you can start making some big, bold decisions. And some of them you might just want to dip your toe in the water and start a little bit and then get a little bit more aggressive after time. So worst case scenario is a great technique for helping you get unstuck. So let's say you're in those modes of life where you're not making the revenue you want, but then when you're over here trying to make the revenue, you're resenting it because you're not over here doing this, and you're kind of all over the map. You're not present. You're not very efficient for wherever you currently are. So how I get unstuck is using the worst case scenarios technique on asking myself these questions of the life that I really want to be able to have. And so Chantel and I would go out on date nights and we would ask ourselves these questions on how radical are we willing to get on our decision-making process to get us to the life that we ultimately want to have. And so I'm going to give you just a touch of this. I teach this in Noah University as a part of my mentorship of really diving down, but this is just kind of the top line idea. I look at what really keeps us trapped is our thinking. The one I should say the few things that we all have in common is we all have time in common. We all have relationships in common. We all have, so we have time, we have relationships, we have our gifts, and then we all have choices. So those are the four things right there that we all have together that we all share. We all share time. We all share people. We all share what we can do, our actual gifts, what we're talented at, what we're gifted at, or what we do with our time. But where we really set each other apart is on the choices. What's the difference between you and the person that's down the street that's living in a high rise? Or what's the difference between you and the person that lives in the house next to you? Why are they doing what they are doing and what you're doing? It's because we choose to do that. A lot of people go through life thinking that they're a victim of their circumstances, saying, you know what, this is the way it is, and this is the way it's always going to be. Well, for Chantel and I, we didn't want to do that. We didn't want to live life that way. We didn't want to do schooling the way that the culture was dictating schooling was going to be done. We didn't want to be entrepreneurs in the way that the world advertised. We wanted to do life differently. And so one of the ways we had to do is we had to start here. We had to start with the way that we see things and the way that we do things and the way that we act upon them. What you believe, what you know, and what you believe dictates your behaviors and your habits. And once I started realizing that and embarking on that, it really changed a lot. So here's a couple examples. Imagine a jail cell. And imagine that you felt trapped in this life and you feel like you can't get anywhere and you feel like this is as good as it's ever going to get. But then you kind of like wake up out of a sleep and you see that the jail cell has been undone and that the shackles that are on your arms and legs are undone as well. You're unlocked. You're free to go. But why is it we won't go out of the jail cell and we continue to stay in the jail cell in chains, even though that we know we are free? We do it because of familiarity. We don't like change. We do want the benefits of what change brings, but we don't want to have to go through the change in order to get there. It's kind of like this. Do you want to run a marathon? Do you want to just get the prize without having to run the race? These are things I had to start looking at with myself. And I'm like, why am I not making those bold decisions? Why am I not making decisions that tomorrow, next week, will change the way that we have income, the way that we change the life that we have, the way that we live, just our approach, the way we wanted to give. And for Chantel and I, it came in the form of we had no margin to give. We were so on life support. We were so just making ends meet. We were so just living what we had. Whatever we made, it went straight to taking care of our living. So what does the power of worst case scenario do? What does it look like? It looks like this. You're sitting there and you're journaling, or you're driving in the car, and all of a sudden you say, I would love to be able to do this, or I would love to be able to make X amount of money, or I would like to be able to do X, or I'd like to be able to go on this trip. Whatever it is for you right now that's on your radar. I want you to think, why can't you do that? And the first answer typically is, I don't have any money. Second answer is, I don't have any time. Let me just tell you this. Time is equally proportionate to the scale of money, meaning this. If I have typically a lot of revenue, money will be required. If I have a lot of revenue, I'm going to have to take a lot of time to keep creating that revenue. Okay? So what happens is most people trade their time for money. You have a job. You go to a job. You do your job. You get paid. You just traded 8 hours out of the 24 that you are allotted. Okay? So, and that's the side note, that what amazes me is that you've got 8 hours at work, you've got 8 hours that you sleep, you've got 16 spoken for, and you've got the rest wide open to be productive on building a dream on the side that's going to create you some more revenue. But let me just share it in this way. Why don't we play worst case scenario for a minute and think, why don't I spend less time at work because I don't have as many things to pay for? So if I don't have as many things to pay for, I don't need to nearly work as hard. Let's just look brutal, gnarly reality. Let's say all of a sudden you move to an apartment, even with your family. I mean, we go to a hotel and we spend $300 a night on a hotel, let's say, and we can fit an entire family of 4 in 600 square feet or less. Sometimes about 400 square feet for the average hotel, which is about the size of a 2-car garage. What if you minimized your life so far down to where that's what you had, and you had one car and you even paid that one off and you were completely out of debt? You're going to sit there and think to yourself, holy mackerel, we've got all this time now and we've got a lot more revenue because we don't have to work as much to pay for things that we don't have. So if you simply got I guess that's the question is, worst case scenario, have you gotten your life as small as it can get? And when we went through the recession, when Chantel and I went through all of our restructuring and our simplification, we simplified our life while getting as much new opportunity that we could for revenue on the flip side of that. We did them both at the same time. We didn't wait for money to come in to go launch a new dream. We launched a new dream while getting our life as small as possible. And my life is just a series of dream launching. Everywhere I can, imagine you're fishing and you're going to get more poles in the water. But everybody looks at their life singularly. They think, I am a person and I go to work and I come home and I sleep. And I am a person that goes to work and I come home and I go to sleep. There's no time for value, nothing that you love. You're not building memories. You're not changing lives. You don't even have the capacity to give or give others your time, because all the time that you do have is completely dedicated to just making the ends meet for the lifestyle that you have. I have found it's just like the verse. The man who's completely willing to lose his life will gain it. And so I know this is a little bit longer of a video than normal, but what is worst case scenario? Let's say you did have to go move into your parents'. Is that terrible? Could be. You might have in-laws that you don't like. But how really gnarly are you willing to get on getting your life minimalized and simplified? Because when you simplify, you give yourself a raise. When you give yourself a raise, you don't need to work as much. So whatever you do work, you get revenue. But the problem is, can you be disciplined enough to be able to say, hey, I've got all this I have all this more time on our hands. I can do more things with it. But you have to be willing to think worst case scenario. Walk out of the jail cell. The question is, why do we keep in the shackles though they're unlocked? Why do we stay in the jail cell even though it's unlocked? Because of the fear of the unknown. We don't want to run the race, but we want the prize. Running the race means walking out of that jail cell, setting yourself into freedom and going and risking and failing. But it's going to get messy if you want to get smaller. And a lot of people don't want to do that. So the question I have for you is, are you willing to go worst case scenario in your thinking on really getting that radical and outside the box? Because you're going to find out that it isn't really that bad. Worst case scenario is far from bad. It's far from terrible. I can tell you firsthand, the more radical we got on minimizing and getting aggressive on the way that we did our life, the more fruit came from it, the better we felt physically, the more time we had with our kids. Because everybody was looking at life as, you're successful if you've got this nice house and this and this and this and this. That's completely the wrong measuring stick. I wanted to be able to get life as small as possible while putting more poles in the water for opportunity, and stop trying to hoard the finances that we did have and take all that energy and pour it into making new opportunities and new revenue. So that's my challenge for you this week, you guys. Stop thinking in that singular view. Eliminate your life, get small on your expenses and cut things out and minimize things, while at the same time adding value by getting more poles in the water for opportunity. And then it's our thoughts, it's our thinking that has gotten us to this place. It's our thoughts that put us in that jail cell. But just remember, you're unlocked. You're free to go. That jail cell is wide open. Remember, you're just telling yourself that it's locked. And don't stay in that familiar, because we stay trapped in that familiar out of fear of the unknown. Kick that fear in the face, man. That's why I'm writing a whole book about this subject. Kick them in the face, walk out there. You're going to find it's not even as gnarly as you thought. I hope you have a great week. Have fun trying this out. I can't wait to hear your responses. Leave a comment down below. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, please. And please share this with somebody you think would benefit. Thanks. Have a good week.